Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you a 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. Tell them I said hello. How do you like this beautiful wallpaper? Isn't it gorgeous? Right? But look at this. Over the window, I did not hang this wallpaper, by the way. Over the window, the customer calls me and says, Spencer, I got a stain on my wallpaper. There must be something under the paper. So I said, let's have a look. So after determining they had enough wallpaper to do this patch, we took a look on the wall and there's nothing there. But here's what happened. The installer, the lazy installer who did a great job, so he knew what he was doing. He ripped the backing, this backing that you're looking at right here. Now we all know when we do that, we created a problem. All you got to do is paste it back down. Put some paste on this, using clear paste. Put it back down, put it on the wall, see if it reveals a color differential. It's not going to do it, but just check. He throws the paper out, hangs this paper, and then what he does is he creates a stain appearance on the other side. Now this is a great instructional video because you could easily rip that backing. Now you can't see it here, but trust me when I tell you, on the other side of this wallpaper is a stain right on the left-hand side of your screen. Right here, when it's up against the other wallpaper. So he says, I need it replaced. So now we have to replace this sheet. But here's the challenge. The homeowner only has one sheet left, and it is enough to cover this space from the ceiling to the beginning of the blind, and it goes 2 inches past this line. That's the challenge. How would you do it? Well, first of all, you know you have a random pattern here. I mean, look at this installation. It's perfect. By the way, you see what appears to be the seam here? This is the seam, but you're not seeing the seam per se. Because it's a seam is not the reason why you're seeing that. What you're seeing is a random pattern. All of these little lines, right? And what you're seeing is the break of the pattern. What I mean by that is, see, when you get up close, you really can't see it, right? But the reason why you can see it far away is because this pattern, these lines, they get disconnected at the splice, at this double cut. They get disconnected. So here's our seam right to the left of my fingernail. And you'll see in your screen that the pattern stops. You can see right above my fingernail, that line that's horizontal with my fingernail stops. And where does it stop? It stops at the vertical seam. And when that happens 2,000 times on each feet of linear space, it manifests the seam. And so you have to understand, if you're the installer, that is beyond, far beyond your control. You can't do anything about that. It's simply the result of the pattern ending on this sheet and continuing on this sheet. Okay, just as an aside. So now let's get back to this. Here's what we're gonna do. We've taken out our laser level so that we can plan the project properly. Okay? Oh, hush. Okay, so you see my laser line? When I install my patch piece, my laser has to remind me where the wallpaper ends, where this ends, so that I know I have wallpaper to the right of the laser. Remember, I'm working over a window. I can't just cut this wallpaper and come down here, you know? No. I have to end it in that corner. This is a challenge. This is what I'm trying to show you if you ever have this problem. But go for it. Don't shy away from a challenge, right? So now my laser line is telling me, don't worry about cutting against me because there's wallpaper underneath it. If there were no wallpaper underneath it, we would be in trouble. We would be in a lot of trouble because what you'd see is a white gap. Okay? You agree if I cut on the middle of that green line? I'm good? And we'll do the same thing over here, but we have a patch piece that's going to go 2 inches beyond that. However, we can't just go 2 inches beyond it because we'd be coming down to here. Where do you stop this thing? Right here? We have to cut it right above the corner. And so the problem is no less critical over here, except for one thing. You do have this in the way. So when people come in the room, if you made a little boo-boo and cut it a ½ an inch over here, and you came down and you ended to the left of my thumb right there, you could always make a horizontal cut. You could always do that. Do you know what I mean? Ideally, you want it right over the corner, but my previous installer, he already used that opportunity by cutting it right to the corner. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come 1/8 of an inch down the edge of his wallpaper, and here's what I'm gonna do. Watch this. I'm gonna hook it, because I have no space above that corner with which to hide my vertically plumb double cut. So I therefore must do this. Watch this. I have to do this when I cut it. I'm going to hook it in. And that, if you examined it very closely, you would see that. Ideally, this piece gets replaced too, because of the situation I just explained. Ideally. But we don't have enough paper to do that. And so that's the challenge. Let's get busy. Now I've taken you up to the repair. This has a shimmering effect on this wallpaper. If we leave anything uneven underneath the wallpaper, it's going to show. So if you want to be a perfectionist, take this into account. This has to get scraped off, cleaned up before we do it. We're professionals and we charge accordingly. Remember that, we charge accordingly. This is not a cheap procedure. And I take a lot of pride in my work. And if you want to do it right, you have to clean this up. Now this is the setup. We're protecting the bathtub and where I might walk, okay? Secondly, I'm going to wrap this blind. I don't want to be replacing a blind that can be controlled from a foreign country. These blinds today are on Bluetooth, and they literally can be operated with your cell phone. Close my bedroom blind, okay, etc., etc. You understand? So we'll be covering that. with plastic. Now, we're going over a pasted area. I'm not taking any chances here. This is your go-to primer here, okay? In these fix-it situations. Okay, oil-based. Could I use guards? Yes, I could. But I think many of you pros watching this, you're old school, you say oil, right? Oil base. This will lock down anything, even the paper that's torn. And because I want to put a thin coat of plaster over it. Now, I've advised in the past that you use bin, B-I-N, because it dries quicker. I just don't have any of it on my truck, except that I have it in a can. Wait a second, I may be lying. Okay, I was lying. I do have it. But here's the deal, this is thin. I just don't want to be on a ladder. I don't have a good balance on this job. This is thin stuff. I don't want it falling onto the guys. That's why I didn't even think of it, but I do have it. And so I will be opting for the oil. Now check this out. This is full. Look at this. I feel like sending this back to them. Okay? I can't always run back to the store. It's just not cost effective for a contractor to run back to the store, to bring this back. I don't even know what this costs. But for me to go to the store and get a new one, this thing is full. It's heavy. And the first time I used it, it spilled all over here. I don't paint like this. Anyway, so I'll be going with this and straightening up my truck. This will dry and you can start working over this 10 to 15 minutes. By the way, Vancouver Carpenter, love the guy. He says you can't work on this until the day after. I disagree, so I'm going with this. I could also use this, okay, or guards, but I'm going with this because I trust it to do a problem situation like this a lot more than I would trust this. We also have 935 from Roman. This is the sister product to Pro 999. If you look at what this is for, you could wallpaper a mirror, right? A mirror. You could wallpaper a door, okay? And you could go with this product. By the way, do you have any tools that are stuck together, like pliers or snips or anything like that? If you mix this with transmission fluid, you know what you would get if you mix this with transmission fluid? You would get a penetrating oil that's better than the stuff you buy on the shelves. And for cheap, this and transmission fluid makes 50-50, 50% acetone, 50% transmission fluid. You would get a penetrating oil that will free up your pliers, snips, anything that are stuck together because of rust and non-use for years. By the way, I've added some mineral spirits to thin this out. Okay. Boy, can you smell that from where you are? Jeez. Now you can understand why I wouldn't want to be using bin. My ladder is against the window. It's not ideal, right? Somebody just said, yeah, put down the camera. I know, man. Go easy. We don't want to have a problem with our singing. lines. Look at that, look how beautiful. Do you like that? Let's put a tree here. Yeah, that's a happy tree. Yeah. Just looking to get those areas where you want to compound over, okay? I'm thinning it out now. Pulling that brush just to thin out that application, you know? That's why I use the thinner. Okay? Now we will wait for that to dry. And we have minimal, no mess at all from having used it. Okay? So while I wait for it to dry, I like to keep my brushes nice and clean, right? So, but when you use this stuff, man, you gotta do cleanup. So that's what I'm doing. Always have a brush so that you can get in there and just get the gunk off of that. Okay. Hey, do you like my license plate? Walls are us. People say to me, I thought it said walrus. It doesn't. Read it. "40 minutes after I applied the oil base primer." Okay. I think we're almost good there. Now we will wait for that to dry. And we have minimal, no mess at all from having used it. Okay? I have now taped my edge because I'm preparing to cut my wallpaper. I cut each edge. Why did I do that? This wallpaper, this wallpaper with, listen, these little grooves, they're notorious for trapping wallpaper paste. Many of you write to me and say, I got this on my wallpaper. What do you think it is? It's paste trapped in these little grooves. I don't want it on my wallpaper. So now I'm going to prime my repair, or size it, seal it. You seal it with thin material. What is this thin material? Well, let me explain why it's thin. It penetrates the plaster repair. You need to not only lay a barrier on top of your repair, but it needs to penetrate it and go deeper than just the top. Many people use paint to prime it and they're mistaken. The paint just sits right on top. This is what this is. Weld bond. Let's take a look at what it does. First of all, it's a bonding agent for concrete and plaster, so it doesn't resist plaster. Okay, you can get into it. And it dries crystal clear, bonds most anything. Okay. What this does is it seals the plaster in by penetrating it. And it's so strong that it locks down the repair, giving you a barrier between your repair and your new wallpaper. I just had to remove wallpaper recently, and I told the lady, this is not coming down. It won't be cost effective for you to take it down, because the fellow who hung it did a great job installing it, but didn't use guards or Pro 999 or shields or this beautiful discovery of mine. By the way, it's 1 part weld bond, 3 parts water, and you will have a solution that does the same exact thing as guards, G-A-R-D-Z. Since we're doing a repair, I'm just going to roll my paste on. So many of you say, what paste do you use, Spencer? First of all, you want a heavy duty, clear paste. And now, because of this job, you can see the importance of using clear paste, right? Remember, this repair needed to be done because of discoloration. So what paste do I recommend? I highly recommend that you use Dynamite. Dynamite, you can get it in 234. Dan Childs, if you're watching, please comment on your favorite Dynamite product. For those of you listening, please look in the comment section below for a comment by Dan Childs, who has been using Dynamite for many years up in Michigan. And you will see that we both highly recommend heavy duty clear paste by Dynamite. Okay, after you pasted it, you want to leave this type of vinyl set up for 10 minutes, no less than. If it shrinks on the wall, you will have an irreparable seam issue. Let it soak. While it's booking, you want to press the wallpaper together. And obviously you don't want to crease any wallpaper that you're installing. This happens to be vinyl, but you don't want to crease it. Creases are bad on wallpaper. And so we're always going to leave a little opening. Okay, let's let it set up for 10 minutes. Let's turn the light off for a moment so that you can see I brought my laser line now right at the 3/16 to the left of the edge of that sheet, because my blue tape covers this sheet edge. And so my laser line is my cut line. But look at the challenge. Where do I stand? Not an easy task over a bathtub. Now at the bottom, we're still attached. So I'm gonna go to the edge of my new sheet and go this way. One seam is done. And you remember from our instruction before that this seam is only visible because of the interruption of these little white pieces of pattern. This seam is not raised on either side. It's a perfect seam, despite the fact that the guy was lazy in there. Now, if you can see my seam, I cannot. I'm looking through the screen, but you might. It is due to that phenomenon. Our last seam will be done in the same way. We will go over to the right side and draw our line down. Now, I'm a lefty. This poses another safety hazard to me. Okay? The guy I'm doing this for is an excellent guy. You pick and choose your customers, you know? This business about the tub, you got to protect it. But I had one customer that I regretted working for, and they threatened me if this gets scratched, it'll need to be replaced. He found somebody cheaper after he contracted with me to hang his paper. So he made it a very hostile work environment by saying stupid things like that. Anyway, I'm very careful, as you can see. And so should you be, especially if you're a pro, right? And by the way, I am not a know-it-all. If you have tips on how to do this, I saw a fellow who was working for me. He put 2 4x4s. He actually used 4x4s going across here, and then he put his ladder right on the 4x. Now that to me is unsafe, and I have a fear of heights. I would not do that. I'm afraid of the thing moving. But if you have a suggestion, I have a telescopic ladder that goes from here up that I didn't bring. We're going to heat this up now, make it all warm and more malleable. We're going to tighten up that seam, which just needs a little heat at the top, in the middle, and at the bottom. And then we're done. Now we're going to heat this vinyl up with an industrial commercial heater from Wagner. Can you use a hair blower? Sure. I'm 5 inches away. I keep it. Well, there you have it. a risky repair in the sense that we only had one sheet left, and it was what you saw me put up on this wall here. And then we had very little room to play with on the left side seam. And on the right side seam as well. Very little room. So if you have any questions, please write them below. But if they're answered in the video, I ask you to please watch the entire video. Thank you for watching. Spencer Colgan is Wallpaper.